Let me tell you something about the house on Delmar Avenue. That house was never just wood and brick to me. It was sweat. It was sacrifice. It was 847 days of waking up at 5 a.m., driving a delivery truck through Atlanta's worst traffic, and depositing every extra dollar I had into a mortgage account with my name on it. My name. Vincent Whitfield. 26 years old and already carrying a mortgage like a grown man twice my age. My father, Raymond Whitfield, had been sick, kidney disease, and when he married Hattie Calloway 4 years ago, I made a quiet promise to myself I would hold this family together. Hattie seemed decent enough at first. Quiet smile. Said she loved my father. Said she understood what this family had been through since Mama passed. I believed her. The house was supposed to be our anchor, mine and Daddy's. We'd bought it together, my credit and his down payment. 4 bedrooms. A porch with a ceiling fan that creaked like old bones. A backyard where Daddy would sit in his lawn chair and watch the sun set. Then the diagnosis got worse. Then Hattie moved in. Then her son Bryson showed up, a 24-year-old man with no job, no plan, and a jawline that made every woman in church call him that sweet boy. And something in Hattie's eyes changed when Bryson was around. Like she'd been waiting. Like she'd been planning. I didn't notice it then. I was too busy paying the $1,740 monthly mortgage, the utilities, the property tax, Daddy's medication. I was the invisible engine of everything. Until the day I came home to find a key, Bryson's key, hanging on my kitchen hook. That was day 1. And I had no idea how dark it was about to get. He just needed somewhere to stay for a few days, Hattie said, stirring a pot of grits like she hadn't just detonated a bomb in my living room. Her back was to me, but I could feel the rehearsed casualness in every move she made. Hattie. I set my keys down slow. That's not how this works. This is my house. My mortgage. My name on the deed. She turned then. And that smile, Lord, that smile. Warm and soft and practiced. The kind that made you feel like you were the unreasonable one. Vincent, baby, his family now. Your daddy is okay with it. She always used Daddy like a shield. I walked to his room. Raymond Whitfield was propped up in bed, oxygen tube under his nose, TV on low. He looked thin. Thinner than last week. His eyes found mine and I saw something in them. Not peace, not agreement. Something tired. Something apologetic. She just told me this morning, he rasped. I didn't, Vincent, I didn't say yes. There it was. I went back to the kitchen. Daddy didn't agree to this, Hattie. He didn't disagree. She shrugged. An actual shrug. Bryson needs stability, Vincent. Just a few weeks. What's the harm? The harm. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. Instead, I looked around that kitchen, the one I'd retiled myself, the countertops I'd picked, the shelf where Mama's old recipe box still sat, and I made a decision. I pulled out my phone. I took a photo of that key on the hook. I didn't say another word to Hattie that night. But I opened my notes app and typed 3 words. Document everything. Everything. Because something told me this was only the beginning. Within 4 days, Bryson wasn't a guest anymore. He was a resident. His sneakers were by the front door, 6 pairs. His gaming setup was in the 2nd bedroom, my home office. His food crowded my refrigerator. His car, a 2021 Dodge Charger, because apparently stability just means a new zip code, sat permanently in my driveway. I came home Thursday to find him on my couch, feet up, watching SPN on the TV I'd bought, eating cereal out of a bowl I'd owned since college. What's good, Vincent? Like we were cool. Like this was normal. Hattie didn't even look up from folding his laundry at the kitchen table. That night I called my best friend, Darius Cole. Darius had grown up on the same block as me, done 2 army tours, and now worked in real estate law. If I had a guardian angel, it was Darius, and Darius didn't sugarcoat anything. Bro, he said when I finished. She's positioning him. This isn't about a few weeks. She's trying to establish residency. What does that mean? It means if you don't handle this legally and fast, removing him becomes a whole court process. Even in your own house. My stomach dropped. I'm on the deed, Darius. Doesn't always matter in Georgia once someone establishes tenancy. How long has he been there? 4 days. You still have time. But Vincent, listen to me very carefully. Don't do anything emotional. Don't blow up. Document. And start thinking about your exit strategy. I hung up and sat in my truck for 40 minutes just breathing. Exit strategy. In my own house. I was 26 years old and I already needed an exit strategy from the only home I'd ever known. To understand what I did next, you need to understand something I found out 3 weeks later, something that broke the last thin thread of grace I had for Hattie Calloway Whitfield. My Aunt Beverly, Daddy's sister, the woman who raised him, called me on a Tuesday afternoon. Beverly was sharp. Beverly didn't call to chat. When her name appeared on my screen, I knew. Vincent, she said, I need to tell you something before it eats me alive. 6 months before Daddy's diagnosis got critical, Hattie had been asking questions. Specific questions. About the house. About whose name was on it. About what would happen to the mortgage if Raymond died. Beverly had overheard her on the phone, not with family, with someone Beverly didn't recognize, saying, once Raymond's gone, Vincent is soft enough to let Bryson stay. We just have to get the foot in the door. I sat completely still. Once Raymond's gone. She had planned this. Before my father was even critical, she had planned this. Bryson wasn't a son who needed help. Bryson was a move in a game I hadn't known I was playing. And Hattie, the woman my sick father called his wife, the woman who smiled at Sunday dinners and brought Daddy his medication, had been calculating the entire time. You okay, baby? Beverly asked. No. I was not okay. But here's what I learned from Mama before she died. Grief makes you break things. Strategy makes you win. I wasn't going to break. I was going to be so precise, so quiet, so absolutely surgical about what came next that Hattie Calloway Whitfield wouldn't even see it coming. Not until it was too late. Vincent, you need to stop the autopay. That was Darius, after I told him everything Beverly told me. I blinked. The mortgage. Not yet. Start smaller. Change your direct deposit so your paycheck no longer goes into the joint account you and your dad opened. Open a new account. Somewhere Hattie doesn't know about. I hadn't even realized she had eyes on that account. But she did. I checked the access history. She'd been logging in weekly. Looking at balances. Watching the money. My money. I opened a new account at a credit union across town that same Friday. Moved everything. Set up new autopay from there. Same mortgage payment, but now from an account with only one name on it, mine. Then I started visiting Daddy more. Intentionally. I brought food he actually liked, collard greens from Ms. Patterson's on Auburn Avenue, not the bland stuff Hattie cooked. I sat with him. I talked. And carefully, I asked questions. Daddy, did Hattie ever ask you to add her name to the deed? He hesitated too long. She mentioned it once or twice. Did you sign anything? No. Firm. Clear. No, Vincent. I'd never do that without you knowing. Good. The deed was still clean, just Raymond Whitfield and Vincent Whitfield. Father and son. Blood. I also hired a real estate attorney named Florence Cantrell, referred by Darius. She wore reading glasses on a beaded chain and had zero patience for foolishness. Within our first meeting she'd already outlined 3 scenarios. She's going to push, Florence said. They always push. The question is, how far are you willing to let this go before you pull the trigger? I looked her dead in the eye. All the way. It was almost midnight on a Wednesday when my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. No name. Just a message. You should check what your stepmom filed at Fulton County Courthouse last Friday. I stared at that for 10 full seconds. Then I was on Google, then on the Fulton County Online Records portal, typing every variation of Hattie Whitfield, Hattie Calloway, Hattie Calloway Whitfield. And there it was. A petition. Filed by Hattie and Bryson Calloway, claiming that Bryson had been a continuous resident of the Delmar Avenue property and requesting recognition of his tenancy rights. They had listed the date of occupancy as 3 weeks earlier than he'd actually arrived, a date I had photographic evidence contradicting. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From something colder. More focused. I called Florence at 12:17 a.m. She answered on the second ring. I didn't even apologize for the hour. They filed, I said. A pause. Then, how long ago? Last Friday. 5 days. Okay. I could hear her sitting up, shifting gears. This is actually good, Vincent. They tipped their hand. They got impatient. And impatient people make mistakes. What do we do? You send me everything. Every photo, every text, every timestamp. And then, she paused. Then I need you to do something very hard. I need you to act completely normal around Hattie. Smile. Be polite. Don't let her know you've seen this filing. I closed my eyes. Normal. Smile. Polite. Vincent. Yeah, I said. I can do that. But in my chest, something had permanently shifted. I wasn't the son trying to keep the peace anymore. I was done being soft. The game was on, and I had just been dealt the perfect hand. I hadn't planned on telling Daddy. I wanted to protect him. The man was on dialysis 3 times a week and his blood pressure was already a tightrope. The last thing I needed was this stress reaching him. But Daddy found out on his own. It was a Saturday afternoon. I was at the house helping him with his afternoon medications when I heard Hattie on the phone in the kitchen. She didn't know I'd come in through the back. And Daddy's door was cracked. Bryson, just keep your head down a few more weeks, she was saying, her voice low and confident. Once that petition gets acknowledged, Vincent can't touch him. And when Raymond, a pause. When things change with Raymond, we move on the deed. The room was so quiet I could hear the refrigerator hum. I turned to Daddy. He was already looking at me. He'd heard every word. And Raymond Whitfield, a man who had worked 30 years in the Fulton County Sanitation Department, who had never once asked anyone for anything, who had cried exactly twice in my entire life, had tears running silent down his face. I'm sorry, son, he whispered. That broke me open. Not Hattie. Not Bryson. Daddy apologizing for something he didn't even do. That was the moment that cracked my chest wide. I took his hand. Daddy, don't. This is not on you. I should have seen her. She was designed to fool good men. He squeezed my hand hard. What are you going to do? I looked at him for a long time. Then I said, I'm going to protect what's ours. Both of us. But I need you to trust me and let me handle it. He nodded once. Slowly. Like a man passing a torch. I left his room and walked right past Hattie in the kitchen without a single word. She didn't know what I'd heard. She didn't know Daddy had heard it too. She thought she was still winning. She had maybe 10 days left in that delusion. I want to walk you through what I'm calling the nuclear option, Florence said, sliding a folder across her desk. It was Tuesday morning. Outside her office window, Atlanta was doing what Atlanta does. Loud, fast, indifferent. I opened the folder. You stop all mortgage payments, she said simply. Intentionally. Strategically. And you don't tell anyone. I looked up. That's foreclosure. Eventually, yes. But foreclosure takes months. You have time. And here's the thing, Vincent, she leaned forward. What is Hattie actually after? The house. Specifically, she wants her son established in a house he doesn't pay for. She wants to inherit a piece of your asset through your father's marriage. She wants the property. Florence tapped the folder. So what happens if there is no property? What happens if the bank takes it? The silence in that office was enormous. She gets nothing, I said slowly. She gets nothing. Bryson gets nothing. The petition becomes worthless because there's no tenancy to protect in a foreclosed property. The deed becomes irrelevant. Everything she's been engineering for months, gone. Wiped clean. She sat back. Now, you would take a credit hit. We'd have to manage that. But I've already spoken to a colleague who handles strategic default cases. It's manageable. Especially for someone your age. I sat with that. I turned it over. I looked at all the angles. There's one more thing, I said. Daddy. Florence's expression softened for the first time. We move your father first. We find him proper medical housing. We make sure Raymond is safe, comfortable, and out of that house before a single payment is missed. I exhaled. Long and slow. Draw up the paperwork. She smiled. Not warmly. Professionally. Already started. The hardest conversation of my life wasn't with Hattie. It wasn't in Florence's office. It was on a Thursday evening, sitting beside my father's bed with a plate of Miss Patterson's sweet potato pie between us, telling him what I was about to do. He listened without interrupting. Raymond Whitfield was always better at listening than talking. When I finished, he was quiet for almost a full minute. Then, "You sure, Vincent?" "I'm sure." "You'd lose the house." "I'd lose the building, Daddy." The house stopped being ours the day she filed that petition. He looked at the ceiling. I watched his jaw work, the way it always did when he was processing something deep. Then he looked at me and said, "Your mama would be proud of you." I had to look away. We moved him 2 weeks later. Beverly had a spare bedroom, a real one, wide windows, first floor so he didn't have to manage stairs. She'd already cleared it out before I even asked. That's family. That's real family. I told Hattie we were getting Daddy assessed at a specialist facility. A vague truth. She didn't question it. She was too busy celebrating that I'd gone quiet, that the tension in the house had eased. She probably thought she'd won. She probably thought I was accepting the situation. She texted Bryson that night. I know because Daddy still had access to their shared streaming account and their texts synced to his tablet by accident. Vincent is softening up. Keep being cool with him. Give it another 2 weeks. I read that text and almost laughed out loud. Daddy was safe at Beverly's. The paperwork was in motion. And I had already called the mortgage company for the last time. October 14th. That was the date of the last mortgage payment I made on 4417, Delmar Avenue. $1,740. Paid on time, same as every other month for the past 847 days. Nothing suspicious. Nothing that would raise a flag. Then November came. No payment. I didn't call the bank. I didn't set up an alert. I just stopped. Quietly. Completely. The way you close a book you'll never open again. Florence had briefed me on the timeline. First missed payment, the bank sends a notice. 30 days. Then another notice. 60 days. Then formal default. Then, depending on Georgia law and the specific loan terms, foreclosure proceedings could begin as early as 120 days. It would take months to finalize, but the machinery was in motion. What Hattie didn't know was that the bank would send all correspondence to the mailing address on the loan, which I had quietly updated to Beverly's address 3 weeks earlier. A small form. A 5-minute phone call. That's all it took. Every notice. Every warning letter. Every formal notice of default. All of it was going to Beverly's mailbox. Not to Delmar Avenue. Not to Hattie. She would have no idea. She would be living in that house, planning her next move, coaching Bryson on how to act normal, dreaming about the deed, while the bank was methodically, legally, and completely pulling the floor out from under her. Darius called me the evening after I confirmed the address change. "You good?" "I'm good. No regrets." I thought about that key on my kitchen hook. I thought about Bryson's sneakers by my front door. I thought about Hattie's voice saying when Raymond goes. I thought about my father's silent tears. "Not a single one," I said. 6 months passed. I moved into a clean 2-bedroom apartment in Decatur. New furniture. New energy. Every morning I made coffee and sat by the window and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Real peace. Not the forced quiet of a man swallowing his rage. Actual stillness. I checked in on Daddy at Beverly's every weekend. He was better. Lighter. The dialysis was still hard, but without Hattie's stress polluting every room, he actually laughed more. Beverly made him play bid whist every Sunday, and she cheated mercilessly, and he loved every second of it. I heard from Darius that Hattie had started asking around about me. Casually. Trying to figure out where I'd gone, why I was so quiet, why I wasn't engaging. Bryson apparently tried calling me twice. I didn't answer. Didn't block him either, I just let the calls ring out. Then, on a Tuesday in April, my phone exploded. First text from Hattie, 9:14 a.m, Vincent, there's a notice on the door. Something about the bank. Call me. I read it. I set my phone face down. I drank my coffee. By noon she'd sent 11 messages. By 3 p.m., 24. By 8 p.m., 41. Each one escalating. Confused becoming panicked. Panicked becoming angry. Angry becoming desperate. What did you do? Vincent, answer your phone right now. Bryson can't get evicted, he has rights. I will contact a lawyer. This is not right. By the end of day 6, 6 days of zero response from me, she had sent 92 messages. 92. I know because I counted them. Florence had advised me to preserve every single one. I never answered a single one. The foreclosure completed on a Friday. Florence called me that morning. It's done, she said. The property at 4417, Delmar Avenue has been transferred to the bank. As of today, Hattie and Bryson Calloway have no legal right to remain on the premises. The bank will initiate formal eviction proceedings within the next 10 business days. I sat with that for a moment. How is Bryson's petition affected? I asked. Completely nullified. You cannot have tenancy rights in a property you no longer occupy legally. Their entire filing is worthless. I thanked her. I hung up. And then I did something I hadn't done in months. I cried. Not from sadness. From release. Like something that had been pressing against the inside of my ribs for almost 2 years finally let go. That afternoon, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered this time, because the foreclosure was done and there was nothing left to protect. It was Bryson. Bro. His voice was different. Smaller. They're saying we gotta be out in 10 days. My mom is. He stopped. Was this your plan the whole time? Bryson, I said, calm as still water. I gave your mother every opportunity to do the right thing. She chose this. You could have just talked to us. I did talk. Several times. Nobody listened. I paused. Find somewhere else to stay. And next time your mother sets her eyes on a good man's house, maybe remind her that not every son is soft. I hung up. There was a long moment of quiet. Then I called Daddy. It's done, I told him. He exhaled. Long and deep, like a man setting down something heavy. It's done, he repeated. And then, softly, come have dinner with me and Beverly on Sunday. I'll be there, I said. The apartment in Decatur became home in ways I hadn't expected. I painted one wall terracotta, Mama's favorite color. I put her recipe box on the kitchen shelf. I bought a porch chair even though it was a second-floor unit, just so I had somewhere to sit with my coffee and watch the morning come. Hattie and Bryson rented a 2-bedroom unit in College Park, according to Beverly, who heard it through church. Hattie, from what I gathered, told people I'd been ungrateful and cruel. She apparently still doesn't understand what she did wrong. Some people never will. Bryson got a job at an Amazon warehouse 6 months later. I heard that from Darius, who heard it from somebody who grew up with him. Good. At least one of them found a way to contribute to something. Florence Cantrell filed a formal grievance with the court on my behalf regarding the fraudulent petition Hattie and Bryson had submitted, the one with the falsified residency date. It resulted in a civil finding against them. Nothing dramatic. Just a permanent record of what they tried to do. Daddy got stronger. Not cured, kidney disease doesn't work like that, but stronger in the way that matters. He laughed. He argued. He cheated at cards right alongside Beverly, and when I caught him doing it one Sunday he laughed so hard he nearly knocked his juice over. Me. I'm 32 weeks into saving for the next down payment. A house with my name on it. Only my name. A house nobody can petition against, nobody can scheme their way into, nobody can position a grown son into. Mine. I'm not bitter about Delmar Avenue. I'm grateful for what it taught me, that loyalty without discernment is just vulnerability. That protecting yourself isn't cruelty. That sometimes the most powerful thing a man can do is stop paying for someone else's game.